Well, there it is. Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign, and there's been some recent information that's been coming into light that I wasn't aware of. Suppose it's my own fault, really. I don't know if you guys have already watched Benzi's video on the announcement of all the information given for the wormhole space well, I say wormhole space. No one knows it's wormhole space. They're just guessing it's wormhole space. It doesn't say wormhole space. It could be abyssal space, or it could be, I don't know, like something completely different that sounds like wormhole space. I don't know. I'm not going to get too excited about it just yet. I'm definitely not going to put down my pickaxe. There's still a lot of salt I need to mine. But anyway, let's just go over what we've got on this little sheety majiggy thingy here. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible for you guys. So let's talk about the resonance simulation. So in EVE Online, you had these probe scanners. You'd throw out the probes, you put them into a shape, you'd start pressing a button, and you'll scan down, scan down, scan down, scan down until you pinpointed a certain thing that you needed to actually get to. And then it'll pop up on there and you could warp to it. That's basically the gist of what you could do in EVE Online without a big old long explanation. They did talk about some lore stuff, which I was actually quite happy about, to be honest. I do love a bit of lore, so the fact that they put some lore into the actual breakdown was actually quite nice. Found it a breath of fresh air. I can't fault them for that. I was actually quite happy about it. So they talked about like the supernova event happening, and then the parallel universe echoes emerged from this supernova, and all this stuff happened, and a special resonance effect that occurs with such neutrinos pass through. I mean, literally, it's a physics lesson. So for like, basically, some shit exploded, it blew up, it opened a hole into another dimension, which is our universe, which splits up EVE Online from EVE Echoes. It's a pretty standard sci-fi-esque storyline for splitting up two different universes. Marvel have done it millions of times. DC have done it millions of times. It's a pretty good way of doing it, actually. It's not too bad. It makes it easy to explain. This whole written out thing that was sent out has got a lot of long-ass words in it, and I'm the kind of crayons and blackboard kind of guy, right? I want to color in pretty dolphins jumping over a sunlit sky and drawing pigeons and drawing seagulls. Now, everything that was written here is actually quite long-winded, and there's a lot of stuff in it. Like, I mean, if you're anything like me, I was a little bit confused trying to read through this stuff. I know there's a lot of, like, gigabrain people that play EVE Echoes and play EVE Online, but like I want my systems to be explained to me in a very straightforward manner. This is the system, this is what it does, this is how you do it. But I felt like they've tried to put in a story in here and all kinds of stuff. They could have done a separate lore piece, and I would have really enjoyed reading the lore piece, but when I want to find out what actually systems are coming into the game, I just want to know what they are. Like, there's a lot of running around loads of different things here. So they've got two types of scanning, what they call resonance simulation. You've got a wide area scanning and a narrow area scanning. So the narrow area one is for detecting ships and buildings. So your stations, your player-made stations, your player-owned stations, your corp stations, etc. Now this scan can tell you the type of ship, and it can determine its location. And then you have the wide area scanning probes. We'll call them scanning probes. It's the resonance simulator. So this one is for scanning down beacon signals. Now, beacon signals are just your standard anomalies that you find out there. So you'll be able to scan down your dead spaces, etc., which they go on to say in this actual bit of writing. But they did go to say that the accuracy will be slightly less than that of the narrow area. So it'll take a lot longer to actually scan down some of the beacons than it would be to scan down a ship, which is kind of weird to me that it's actually quicker to scan down a player than it is to scan down an anomaly. But that's only if I'm reading it correctly. I will put this whole written thing down in the description. I'll post it somewhere so you guys can actually read through all of the information that's here if you would like to. So how does the scanning work from a PvE perspective? The scanning simulation, resonance simulation, I just don't know. It's too much of a long word. We're going to call it sim, res sim. That's the new name for this. It's going to be called res sim. The PvE can probe many different signals, such as dead spaces. So it's not only just going to be dead spaces, there are going to be other signals that this actual res sim can scan down. You will need to have the wide area res sim fitted, and you will have to activate it to use it. It's pretty much standard stuff. I don't think you're going to be like scanning down things. I'm kind of glad it's not going to be like EVE Online, because that shit took hours. That shit took a long ass time to get stuff done. So I'm really hoping it's really not going to be like that. So you just get a load of reports come up, and then you'll be able to scan it down and get further and further to the point by getting, I guess from the pictures that we've seen previously, you got to get those wavelengths set in a like correct pattern. It's kind of like tracing the pattern over top of another pattern if you're looking at any of the older screenshots that we have had before. So the scan looks like it's going to be sort of automated. You're going to press a button, it's going to scan down after a certain amount of time, then you're going to open up and you're going to click the one you want to scan down, and you're going to pinpoint that certain ones for the report and analysis, and you'll like maybe have to do that a few times before you actually get the actual anomaly or beacon or scanning or whatever it is you're scanning down. So the res sim for PvP can only scan down players and structures, as we said before. First, you have to fit the narrow area res sim. Activate the module and it does the same thing. You basically tap the notice screen and you check to see the scan report analysis to see what's out there. Look, you're going to see a cruiser over there. Okay, that's cool. You're going to see a battle cruiser over there. You're going to see a battleship over there. Okay, I'm going to go to the battleship because that's a nice tasty kill mail. So let's go through quickly what the actual scan process is. So you activate the module, different signal waves can be received, and all detected signals will be displayed. So you'll have a sort of overlay, as I was saying before. It's going to be like tracing the overlay over another one, and each of the different ships have different waveforms, and each of the structures will have different waveforms. So whatever you're looking for, you're going to trace over the top of that and set it to that, and you can pinpoint that ship down. That's what it looks like to me. It might not be like exactly that, but from the way it's been explained on here, did I mention that it's really overly written? But we won't get into that. I don't want Benzie accusing me of just mining salt again because I'm an angry guy. So with the wide area res sim, you're looking at 5 possible noises. So 5 wavelengths on there. 2 of them, you're going to have to be random noise waves that you can have to get rid of that actually interferes with the scanning itself. So it seems that it's going to be all automatic still, so you won't have to like go and click everything. It'll just, you click it once, and from what they've written, you'll click it once, it'll do it, then you have to click it again, and it'll take some more time, and it'll do it, and you have to click it again, and then you'll find out what you're getting from that. And that's pretty much how scanning is done from what has been written on here. So they do talk about like what res sims bring to the game. We do know now that Dead Space is going to be literally scanning exclusive. Now there was some writing on here where it says like if you find an amount of anomalies, if you find out the amount of anomalies is below par, then try the res sim and it will show you hidden anomalies. But it's just the wording there. I think it's going to be exclusive to scanning. And that's it. So they have talked about the Nihilus space. So I would normally say Nihilus after Darth Nihilus and his white sexy mask. Good old Knights of the Old Republic 2. What a game that was. And they've made it scan exclusive as well. So they've said, and they've given some sort of lore answer to this. There's no actual information given to it, only that there's neutrinos and energy transformations, and they sort of scan down different areas, the gateways to different places. Now, this could be wormholes. If it's wormholes, great, or it could be abyssal space, because abyssal space needs to be scanned down in a kind of way. You use an item to open up a hole, and you go through the hole when you're in another dimension. But there are 2 options. It's not just wormholes. You do have abyssal space as well. It could be abyssal space. I mean, either way, they're pretty much the same bloody thing, just like written differently. It's just different ways of getting inside them, and then there's sort of different mechanics while you're inside. But they're very similar. It does say they are unstable areas, so that would push more towards the wormhole side of things, because the wormholes will obviously break down and crash, and then it will reset and you'll have to scan down a new wormhole. But if scanning down's automatic and you can do it that way, then that doesn't bother me that much, because I won't spend my whole entire life scanning down random shit all day long. So there will be scanning in low sec, so you will be able to chase down those big fat juicy AFK battleships doing their T10 stories. They have said that the current low sec environment is too safe and they want to make it more unsafe, which is fine. I have no issue with that. It's PvP. I did really think that they wouldn't allow it in low sec. I thought they were going to go the more Care Bear route, and I thought they were going to do it that way. But I'm kind of like glad to see that they didn't go that way, and they're actually putting in some thought into the actual system that we currently have now. It will make low sec a much more dangerous place, and it will allow for more PvP in low sec, because not everyone wants to go to null sec. It's fucking miles away. So you can prevent yourself from being detected in low sec and null sec by using covert ops, shields, stealth modules, and you can't be detected in those ships, but you're not going to be doing T10 stories in a bloody covert ops frigate or even a covert ops cruiser. I mean, you can, but it's going to take you a bloody long time. So they do go on to say this source radius. I just think this is sig radius. It has to be just signature radius. It can't be anything else. So the smaller your ship, the harder it is to detect, which is fine. It's the same as it is in EVE Online. I mean, you scan stuff down. If you're trying to scan down a frigate, it's going to take you a long ass time. If you're trying to scan down a Titan, that shit's going to pop up like a Christmas tree. But they will be adding some defensive modules. Well, hopefully they're not as powerful as the warp core stabilizers were at the beginning of the game, where you couldn't lock anyone down. So they're going to have defensive modules. They're probably going to cost you a bloody arm and a leg, at least at first. But there'll be sort of like a counter, which is better than what has been done in the past. Sometimes they haven't even added counters to when they've added mechanics to the game, like not adding bookmarks when they added bubbles. That's a prime example of them not adding a counterplay to a major change in PvP. But they've done it this time. I'm glad they've learned from that mistake that they've done previously. They definitely have to add the core and then the counter. It just has to be done that way. It always has to be done that way. So if you're scanning down other players' ships, the way that this is written, it says source radius again. I'm pretty sure it's sig radius, so we're going to go with sig radius. If you're in a frigate and you're scanning down a battleship, they will not get noticed that you are scanning them down because your sig radius is smaller than that of the battleship. But if your sig radius is larger or equal to the actual person you're scanning down sig radius, then they will be notified that there's an attack on the way. So if you're running around scanning down people in a battleship and you're scanning down cruisers, they're going to know you're coming because, like, obviously you're going to set out a pulse that's like a bloody Stargate wormhole opening. Shout out to all my SG-1 fans. What a series. They also talked about, like, what if people don't want to PvP in low sec, so they can kind of, like, people obviously going to be asking questions about, can I turn it off so I can still continue to do what I'm doing without getting annoyed by the no please stop alliance, which is probably going to be mapping out every part of low sec right now for all of those nice little juicy kills they're going to be getting, because there's going to be a lot of PvP when this first comes out. There's going to be a lot of people that are not even going to read the patch notes. A lot of these low sec players that don't really care, they're out there just doing their thing, are going to get absolutely royally bashed in for the first couple of weeks. This is going to be when you're going to have to look at the local numbers. If there's a spike in local numbers, and they're obviously, if they're in a ship that's smaller than you, they're scanning you down, you're not going to be told. But the easiest way to find out if you're going to be attacked, if you find out a nice little low sec pocket where there's not many people sitting there, and then you get 5 people coming to locals, just like null sec, you just get on your bike and you fuck off. Now, the way this is written, I don't believe... Now, there has been some extra information given. So, like, you will have to warp to 0 on the beacon. You can't warp at range on the beacon when you're actually jumping and scanning. When you're scanning someone down and you jump to them, you're going to be warping in at 0. There's no way for you to warp in at distance. So you will be landing right in the shit. So if you're using a long-range battleship or you're using a long-range battle cruiser and you're doing all those good things, running drones, etc., you don't have to worry if you're sitting 150 kilometers out because you're going to see the fucker land, unless he's in a cov-op ship. But if he's in a cov-op ship and you're in a Dominic's, just pull out your smalls and insta-blap him. Like, it's just going to be easy. He's not going to attack you because you're just going to fucking blap him out of existence. But if you're sitting there in like a Raven or blah, 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 and you're trying to kill this frigate, I mean, you will hit it, especially if they're using an MWD to like speed tank you and tackle you that way, then it will be okay. And they do pre-warn you to have warp core optimizers on your ships. So if someone does come in a frigate with only 2 mid slots, like a little Cov-Ops frigate or something like that, and they jump out on you and lock you down, you'll be able to still jump out before the cavalry comes to grab you. So some general stuff. I quite like the way that they've gone on about this scanning itself and the sort of systems that are involved in it. I think it will be okay as long as there's going to be a lot of content that comes with that. There's not going to be a lot of content that comes with that, and it's just going to be like Sovereignty, where they added in a half of like a tenth of a mechanic and then just left it there while they make other mechanics. Like, they still haven't updated Sovereignty space. Like, I don't what happened to that. I think they just gave up on that. And that's basically all the information that we currently have on this subject. There's a lot of like and ah, and there's a lot of stuff that's left to interpretation in this sheet. I really wish they would just throw it out straight. This is what it is. This is what it does. This is how you do it. I really wish it was like that. I don't know. It feels like a bit long-winded. They could have spent more time explaining what the actual mechanics were rather than just like a little mock-up of whatever this is. Right, so anyway, I've tried to keep it as low as possible. There was a lot of stuff to go through, but I mean, not a massive amount, but there was a lot of stuff for me to actually give my opinion on. So I apologize for the probably 18-minute video. I hope it didn't bore the living shit out of you. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.
I want to say a huge thank you to all my patrons. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to continue doing what I'm doing. If you'd like to find out how to become a patron and how to get early access to my content, please look down in the description. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.